Hello Year 4 and welcome to your second math lesson all about area. Today we'll be looking how we can count squares to find the area of a 2D shape. You have your daily fluency questions here. Can you please spend 4 minutes answering the following 5 questions? Write down your answers so I can check them when we are marking your work, please. Pause the video here now and off you go. Okay, 75 divided by 3. Well, you could use the part whole model if you wanted to partition the number 75. You could also use your place value counters in your chart to work this out too. But 75 divided by 3 is 25. Number 2, what are the factors of 14? So we are thinking about all the pairs of numbers that multiply together to give an answer of 14. So we have 1 and 14 making 14. 2 and 7 making 14. So there are 4 factors of 14. Number 3, write 27 in Roman numerals. Well, we know that 10 is x, so 2 x's make 20, v is 5, and I is 1. So we have 10, 10, 5, 1, and 1 to make 20, 5, 6, 7, 27. Number 4, which shape has the largest area? Well, which shape is the largest? B. B has the largest area. Remembering area is the amount of space taken up by a shape. Finally, 26 multiplied by 4, 104. Well done if you've got all of those right. Super work. I do have some more questions just that I want you to answer, because this will help you with your learning today. So 1, 2 and 3, can you answer the following questions please? Pause the video, spend 2 minutes on these please. Off you go. Okay, so we have an array here of some blue counters. Now first of all, it's asking us to do a repeated addition to solve the array and work out how much we have altogether. We know we have got 5 3 times, so our repeated addition will look something like 5 add 5, add 5, giving us a total of 15. We could also look at multiplying this because we can see we have 5 columns 3 times. So we could do 3 multiplied by 5 or 5 multiplied by 3 to get that same total of 15. So there are 15 counters in my array. Number 2, 8 add 8 add 8 add 8 equals something multiplied by 8. Well, if we know that equals means the same as, how many 8s would have to be the same as something multiplied by 8 to be the same as here? Well, we can see that we have got 4 8s, exactly like here we had 3 5s, and that would mean that it is 4 multiplied by 8. Finally, what fraction of this shape is shaded? We can see that half of the shape is shaded. Okay, so last lesson we learned all about what area was. Do you remember what area was? Can you just tell the screen for me, please? Fantastic. So in every 2D shape, the area that is taken up from the inside of the shape, or the space that is taken up from the inside of the space, is the area. And we can see here that the pink square is the area that has taken up from inside of this square. But can we find the area of 3D shapes? No, we are not finding the area of 3D shapes. We are just looking at 2D shapes. Can we find the area of shapes that are open? No, we cannot. We can only find the area of shapes that are closed, that all their sides meet up, don't they? Fantastic work. Good remembering. So remember, area is the space inside a closed 2D shape. So I have got a rectangle here. I want to know which shape would be best to fill the rectangle. Is it going to be a circle or a square, and why? Pause the video and have a think, please. Okay, let's see if it would be a circle. So I'm going to fill my rectangle with circles, and I can see here that I am making an area of 20 circles. So here my area is 20 because I have 20 circles. But does this actually show the area? No, it doesn't, does it? Why not? Because there are still gaps inside, and we need to make sure when we are calculating the area that there are no gaps, because otherwise it won't be accurate. So now we can try with our squares. So let's fill the rectangle with our squares. So we can see now that the squares are not overlapping, that they are not having any gaps in them, and I have got an area of 20 squares. So the area of my rectangle is 20 squares because there are 20 squares inside. Now here I have a different shape. We want to work out the area of this shape. And now we can work out the area by counting the squares. So I can see that I have got 1 square, 2 squares, 3 squares, 4, 5, 6, 7 squares. So I can also count my squares to work out the area of shapes. So what is the area of my shape? The area is 7 squares. So we can use that skill of counting to count how many squares are filled up in this space, and that will mean how big the area is. What I would like you to now do is pause the video and have a think, what is the area of each of these shapes? Count the squares and write down what the area, please. Pause the video now and off you go. Okay, did you work out for number 1 that the area is 9 squares? I can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 squares. For number 2, the area is 4 squares. And for number 3, it is 4 squares again, but they've just made a different shape out of 4 squares. So here we have a rectangle and here we have a square. So they are both the same area because they have used the same amount of squares, even though they look different. Okay, I have got another rectangle here, but this time there are different coloured squares. We want to work out the area of each of the coloured squares individually, and then we want to work out the total area. I would like you to pause the video and see if you can finish off these sentences, please. Off you go. Okay, so the green area, we can find this out by counting all of the green squares. I can count the green squares and I can see that there are 2 squares. So the green area is 2 squares. I can then count the orange squares and I can see that there are 4 squares. So the orange area is 4 squares. I can then count the purple area and see that the purple area is 2 squares. And I can do the same with the white area to find 4 squares. Now, to find the total area, I need to add 2 and 4 and 2 and 4 together. And I can see that when I add these together, the area is 12 squares because there are 12 squares that make up this rectangle, meaning the area is 12. Okay, now it's your turn to have a go at questions 1, 2, 3 and 4 on your worksheet. Pause the video here and make a start on those, please, year 4. Okay, so here we have the same rectangle as we had earlier. Now, this little boy here says, to find the area, I'm going to count the squares, just like we have been doing today. So he can count the squares and he can see that there is an area of 12, and he's absolutely right. But another person comes along and they say that I'm going to use my multiples, my times tables, to be more efficient and quicker at working out the area. And that's correct too. So let's see how we can use our knowledge of multiples to work out the area. Well, if we know that each row has 4 squares, we can use this to work out the whole area by adding 4, add 4, which is 8, add another 4, which is 12, giving us the same area of 12 squares. So we can use repeated addition, 4 add 4 add 4, or we could look at how we might use this as a multiplication. 4 multiplied by 3. We have 4 rows 3 times, giving us 12. Alternatively, we could look at the columns and we could see that there are 3 squares in each column. 3 add 3 is 6, add another 3 is 9, add another 3 is 12. So we can use repeated addition again. 3 add 3 add 3 add 3 gives us 12, but also 3 multiplied by 4 gives us 12. So that is a quicker way that you can work out the area of a shape, using your multiples, your knowledge of times tables, to be more efficient and quicker. So, can you use your knowledge of multiples to find out what the multiplication would be for the following area of these shapes? Pause the video and work it out. Off you go. Okay, question number 1. We can see we have got 5 in each column and we have got 2 columns. So 5 multiplied by 2 gives us an area of 10 squares. Number 2, we can see that we have got one long column of 6. So we are multiplying 1 by 6, giving us 6 squares. And for number 3, we can see that we have got 4 rows and 4 columns. So we are multiplying 4 by 4, giving us 16, an area of 16 squares. Well done if you got all those right. Now, we want to work out the area of this shape, but we only want to work out the area of the coloured squares, the blue squares. Now, have a think, how could we do this? Just pause the video. Okay, well what we can do is count all the whole squares. So let's do that now. 1, 2, 3 whole squares. So I've got 3 whole squares, but what is this here? That's right, using our knowledge from earlier on in the lesson, it's half a square. So we can see we have got 3 whole squares and 1 half. So the area is 3 and a half squares. Now, I would like you to use this knowledge to count the full squares, then count the half squares to work out the area of the coloured squares inside each of the shape. Remember, how many halves make a whole year for? 2, well done. So when we have 2 half squares, they make a whole, okay? Pause the video and see if you can work out the following areas of only the coloured squares, the yellow ones. Pause the video and off you go. Okay, number 1, we can see we have got 2 whole squares and 1 half. So the area of the first coloured squares is 2 and a half. For the second one, we have also got 2 whole squares, but we have 2 half squares. 2 halves make 1 whole, so we have 3 squares that are coloured. And for number 3, we have got 4 whole squares that have been coloured in, and 2 halves here, making 5 squares, and 2 more halves here, making 6 squares that are filled. So 6 squares are filled in that shape. Well done if you got those right. Can you now have a go at questions 5, 6, 7 and 8 on the worksheet, please? Pause the video and have a go at those now, please. Okay, so your final task now is to work on the problem-solving questions. So the problem-solving questions are here. Question number 1, Dexter has taken a bite of the chocolate bar. Now, if we know the chocolate bar was a rectangle, it wasn't a rectilinear shape that might have gone elsewhere. It was a rectangle, a regular rectangle. Can you use what you know about 2 of the sides of the shape to work out how many squares of chocolate there were to start with? And the second question is, the rectangle has been ripped. What is the smallest possible area of the original rectangle? So if we want to know the smallest possible area of the original rectangle, we need to see how far it goes, and then we can join it up and work out the area. And finally, what is the largest possible area if the length of the rectangle is less than 10 squares? So we're thinking of length, and if this rectangle is 10 squares long, you will have to draw what your rectangle will look like to find out what the area would be. So that is your final task of the day. Please make sure that you clearly state which problem-solving question you're answering. If you're printing the sheets out, you can do the answers underneath the sheet. But if you're not printing them out, can you just write a title saying problem-solving question 1, problem-solving question 2, just so I can see and make it clear to me so I know which one you're answering. Fantastic learning today, Year 4. I hope you're enjoying learning area as much as I am teaching it. It's a really fun topic and I can't wait to learn more with you. See you tomorrow.